The church bells tolled ominously as the casket gleamed under the stained glass windows, draped in an American flag that symbolized ultimate sacrifice. Richard Harlan sat in the front pew, his weathered hands clenched around a folded program, convinced his son Michael had died a hero in the line of duty overseas. But when a stranger in a sharp suit stood up during the eulogy, introducing himself as Michael's husband, the room froze, and Richard's world shattered in an instant. Richard had always been the pillar of his family, a retired factory worker from a small town in Ohio, where traditions ran deep and change came slow. He raised Michael with stories of his own father's service in Vietnam, instilling values of duty, honor, and stoicism. Michael, with his bright blue eyes and infectious laugh, had been the golden child, star quarterback in high school, enlisting in the Marines right after graduation to make his dad proud. "You'll come back a man," Richard had said, clapping him on the back at the bus station. Now, at 58, Richard stared at the flag-draped coffin, replaying the official notification. Killed in action during a classified operation in the Middle East. Heroic, they called it. The kind of death that earned medals and memorials. But the man who stood tall, with neatly trimmed hair and a voice steady despite the tremor in his hands, changed everything. "My name is Elon Rivera," he said, his words slicing through the hushed congregation. "I was Michael's husband for the last 3 years." Gasps rippled through the pews. Richard's wife, Linda, gripped his arm, her face paling. Michael's sister, Emily, who had flown in from California, dropped her hymn book. The pastor hesitated, Bible in hand, unsure whether to intervene. Elon continued, his eyes locked on the casket. "Michael wasn't just a soldier. He was my partner, my love. And his death, it wasn't what you've been told." In the days leading up to the funeral, Richard had been numb, going through motions like a ghost. He organized the service at St. Mary's, the same church where Michael was baptized. Friends and neighbors brought casseroles, sharing stories of Michael's bravery. He was always the one to step up, old Coach Harlan, no relation but a family friend, had said over coffee. Richard nodded, pride swelling despite the grief. But whispers had started even then. A few military buddies avoided eye contact at the wake. And now this, a husband? Richard's mind reeled. Michael had never mentioned being gay, never brought home anyone but high school girlfriends. Was this some cruel joke? Elon didn't stop. He spoke of meeting Michael at a base in Virginia, how their friendship blossomed into something deeper amid the chaos of deployments. "We married in secret," Elon said, because Michael feared losing everything, his career, his family. The congregation shifted uncomfortably. Richard's brother, Uncle Tom, a staunch conservative, muttered under his breath about disrespecting the dead. But Elon pressed on, revealing that Michael's unit had been involved in a controversial mission, one shrouded in secrecy. He died not from enemy fire, but from friendly fire during a botched operation. The military covered it up to avoid scandal. Murmurs turned to outrage. Richard felt his chest tighten. This couldn't be true. His son, a hero, reduced to a victim of bureaucracy? As the service ended in disarray, Richard confronted Elon outside the church. "Who the hell are you to ruin my boy's funeral?" he growled, voice low but fierce. Elon met his gaze evenly. "I'm the one who loved him when he couldn't love himself openly. And you need to know the truth." Linda pulled Richard away, but the seed was planted. That night, in their modest ranch house, Richard couldn't sleep. He rifled through Michael's old room, finding nothing. No letters, no photos. But doubt crept in. Had he missed the signs? Michael's reluctance to date after high school, his long silences during calls home, society's pressures, the don't ask, don't tell era lingering in the military's shadow, had forced his son into hiding. The next morning, Emily cornered Richard in the kitchen. "Dad, we have to talk to Elon. If Michael's life was a lie, we owe it to him to uncover it." Emily, at 32, was the progressive one, working as a social worker in San Francisco. She'd always suspected Michael was different but never pushed. Richard resisted. "This is nonsense," the military said. But Emily interrupted. The military lies, Dad. Remember the scandals? Pat Tillman? They spin stories to protect themselves. Reluctantly, Richard agreed to meet Elon at a diner downtown. Elon arrived with a folder of documents. Marriage certificate from a quiet ceremony in New York, emails from Michael expressing fears of coming out. He wanted to tell you, Elon said softly, but he was scared of rejection. Richard's hands shook as he read. Michael's words, Dad's from another time. He'd never understand. Tears welled in Richard's eyes. Had his own rigid views driven this wedge? Growing up in a blue-collar family, homosexuality was taboo, whispered about in locker rooms or condemned from pulpits. Richard had never hated, but he'd never accepted either. Now, facing Elon, he saw a mirror of his son's pain. Their conversation stretched into hours. Elon shared stories of Michael's humor, his love for classic rock, how they dreamed of a life post-military. But beneath the romance lurked societal clashes. The military's evolving but still fraught policies on LGBTQ plus service members. The conservative town's judgment. We faced harassment, Elon admitted. Anonymous threats, reassignment threats. Michael pushed through for the mission, but it wore him down. Richard listened, conflicts brewing. Part of him wanted to deny it all, cling to the hero narrative. Another part ached for the son he'd never truly known. As days passed, word spread through town. Neighbors gossiped at the grocery store. Some offered sympathy, others condemnation. Disgraceful, Uncle Tom ranted at a family dinner. Tarnishing a hero's memory for what? Attention? Emily fired back. It's about truth, Uncle. Michael deserved to be seen fully. The family fractured, mirroring broader societal divides. Acceptance versus tradition, secrecy versus openness. Richard found himself in the middle, torn between loyalty to his upbringing and love for his son. Investigating further, Richard contacted Michael's commanding officer. The response was evasive. Classified details can't be disclosed, but leaked reports online hinted at cover-ups in similar incidents. Richard's anger shifted, from Elon to the system that had failed Michael. Yet doubts lingered. Was Elon's revelation self-serving? Had he pushed Michael into danger? These questions fueled sleepless nights, forcing Richard to confront his biases. One evening, alone in the garage, Richard found an old box of Michael's letters from boot camp. Amid the bravado, subtle hints, sometimes I feel like I'm living two lives. The realization hit hard. His son had been suffering in silence, afraid of disappointing him. Richard wept, regretting unspoken words. The drama intensified when local media picked up the story, a fallen hero's hidden life, sparking debates on social media about military transparency and LGBTQ plus rights. Elon invited Richard to Michael's apartment in Virginia, a modest place filled with shared memories. Photos of them hiking, laughing at barbecues. This was our home, Elon said. Richard touched a framed picture, seeing Michael's genuine smile, one he'd rarely seen at family gatherings. I wish I'd known, he whispered. Elon nodded. He loved you. That's why it hurt so much to hide. Back home, tensions peaked at a town hall meeting where veterans discussed Michael's legacy. Supporters praised Elon's courage. Detractors called it betrayal. Richard, unexpectedly, stood. My son was a hero, not because of how he died, but because of who he was. Brave enough to love in a world that didn't always allow it. The room divided, arguments erupting. Uncle Tom stormed out, vowing to cut ties. Linda, supportive but strained, worried about Richard's health. Through it all, Richard's relationship with Elon evolved. They shared meals, stories, bridging the gap Michael left. But conflicts arose. Elon's push for a lawsuit against the military clashed with Richard's desire for peace. Let him rest, Richard pleaded. Elon countered. The truth honors him. This push-pull highlighted deeper issues. Grief's many faces, the cost of authenticity in a judgmental society. As months turned, Richard grappled with acceptance. He attended a pride event in Columbus, Emily by his side, feeling out of place yet moved by the stories. Michael could have been free here, he thought. The drama wasn't just personal. It reflected America's evolving landscape, post-DADT repeal, yet persistent prejudices in rural areas. One night, Richard dreamed of Michael, alive and unburdened. Waking, he called Elon. "Tell me more about your life together." Their bond strengthened, but scars remained. The town's division mirrored national debates. Was outing someone posthumously right? Did military honor supersede personal truth? The lawsuit loomed like a storm cloud over Richard's life. Elon, determined, had connected with advocacy groups pushing for transparency in military fatalities. Michael's case isn't isolated, Elon explained over coffee in Richard's kitchen. Dozens of service members die in accidents that get reclassified. Richard rubbed his temples, the weight of it all pressing down. He'd spent his life avoiding controversy, content with his union job and Sunday barbecues. Now, at the center of a media frenzy, he felt exposed. Local news crews camped outside his house, microphones thrust forward. "Mr. Harlan, do you support your son's husband's claims?" Richard waved them off, but inside questions swirled. Emily researched tirelessly, uncovering reports of similar cover-ups. "Dad, this could change things for others," she urged. But Uncle Tom, rallying conservative friends, started a petition to preserve Michael's heroic memory. Family dinners turned into battlegrounds. "You're letting this outsider destroy our name," Tom accused. Linda mediated, her own grief manifesting in quiet tears. Elon stayed in town, renting a room at the motel, becoming an unlikely fixture. He helped Richard sort Michael's belongings, sharing anecdotes that painted a fuller picture. "Michael loved your stories about the old factory strikes," Elon said. "He admired your fight for workers' rights." Richard chuckled sadly. "Never knew that." These moments humanized Elon, but societal pressures mounted. Church members whispered during services. Some even suggested Richard step down from the deacon board. A pivotal conflict arose when Elon revealed more about the mission. It was a drone strike gone wrong, targeted the wrong village. Michael was whistleblowing internally. Proof came in encrypted emails Elon had saved. Richard's pride in Michael's heroism clashed with this revelation. Was his son a martyr for truth, or had his personal life distracted him? Doubts fueled arguments. "If he wasn't hiding you, maybe he'd have focused better," Richard snapped one evening. Elon's face hardened. "Hiding was because of people like you, afraid of what they don't understand." The hurt lingered, but it forced reflection. Richard recalled his youth, the 1970s when gay rights were emerging but dismissed in his circles. He'd laughed at jokes, never considering the harm. Now, facing Elon, he saw the human cost. Emily organized a support group meeting for families of LGBTQ+ veterans, dragging Richard along. Stories of rejection, suicide, acceptance moved him. One father shared, "I lost my daughter to hate. Don't let that be you." As the lawsuit gained traction, national media descended. CNN interviewed Elon, who spoke eloquently about love amid adversity. Richard watched from his living room, heart pounding. "That's my son's husband," he thought, the words still foreign. Public opinion split. Progressives hailed the bravery. Conservatives decried it as anti-military. Social media erupted with hashtags, "Honor Michael, truth over heroism." Richard's inbox filled with messages, some supportive, others vile. Personal tolls emerged. Linda confessed her suspicions. "I saw how Michael looked at boys in school, but I stayed silent." Richard felt betrayed. "Why didn't you say?" She replied, "Fear. Same as him." Their marriage strained under the scrutiny, but it also deepened, forcing honest talks long overdue. Elon faced his own demons. Orphaned young, he'd found solace in the military, only to encounter discrimination. "Coming out cost me promotions," he admitted. Meeting Michael had been a lifeline, but secrecy eroded it. "We argued about telling you," Elon said. He wanted to wait until retirement. The revelation humanized their relationship, not just romance, but a battle against institutional bias. High drama unfolded at a pretrial hearing in D.C. Richard testified reluctantly, describing Michael's character. Cross-examination probed his views on homosexuality. "Do you accept your son's lifestyle?" the lawyer asked. Richard paused. "I'm learning to." The courtroom buzzed. Outside, protesters clashed. Veterans for truth versus those defending the military's honor. Back home, Richard confronted Uncle Tom at a family barbecue. "You're tearing us apart," Richard said. Tom retorted, "No, that man's lies are." The argument escalated, Tom storming off. Emily consoled Richard. "Change hurts, Dad." Indeed, the conflicts highlighted generational gaps. Older folks clinging to traditions, youth pushing for equity. Through therapy, Emily suggested. Richard unpacked his emotions. "I feel like I failed him," he confessed. The therapist nodded. Grief and guilt often intertwine. Sessions revealed suppressed memories. A gay cousin disowned years ago. Richard vowed change, volunteering at a local LGBTQ+ center. Elon and Richard's bond grew amid adversity. They visited Michael's grave together, sharing quiet moments. "He'd be proud of you," Elon said. Richard smiled faintly. "Of us." But tension simmered. Elon's impatience for justice clashed with Richard's caution. "What if it backfires?" Richard worried. Elon insisted. "Silence is what killed him inside." As the case progressed, leaks revealed more. The operation involved civilian casualties, suppressed to maintain public support. Outrage built, pressuring the Pentagon. Richard, once passive, wrote an op-ed for the local paper. "My son's truth matters more than myth." It went viral, amplifying the drama. The op-ed thrust Richard into the spotlight, invitations flooding in for podcasts and panels. He hesitated but accepted a spot on a national talk show, facing a diverse audience. "Why now?" the host asked. Richard replied steadily, "Because hiding hurts more than revealing." Claps mixed with boos. A conservative panelist argued, "This dishonors all heroes." Richard countered, "True honor includes truth." The exchange went viral, fueling debates on social media about posthumous outing and military accountability. Back in Ohio, backlash intensified. Vandalism hit Richard's house. Slurs spray-painted on the garage. "Traitor," one read. Police investigated, but suspects evaded. Linda feared for safety. Emily suggested moving temporarily. Richard refused. "This is our home." The incident galvanized supporters, a vigil forming outside with candles and signs. "Love wins." Elon stood beside Richard, their alliance a symbol of reconciliation. Internal family drama peaked when Uncle Tom hosted an intervention. "You're destroying the family," he accused. Cousins nodded awkwardly. Richard stood firm. "No, secrets did that." Tom revealed his own pain. A brother lost in Vietnam mythologized similarly. "Don't tarnish legacies," he pleaded. Richard saw parallels. Generations bound by unspoken traumas. They parted estranged, but seeds of understanding planted. Elon's past surfaced, adding layers. A journalist dug up his discharge papers, honorable, but with notes of conduct issues tied to his orientation. Critics pounced. Unreliable witness. Elon defended in interviews. Bias, pure and simple. Richard supported publicly. He's family now. This declaration shocked many, including himself. Had grief forged this unlikely bond? Societal conflicts mirrored in community events. At a veterans parade, Richard marched with an LGBTQ+ contingent, rainbow flags fluttering. Boos from sidelines stung, but cheers outweighed. A young vet approached. "Your story helped me come out." Tears flowed. Richard realized impact beyond personal loss. The lawsuit heated up with depositions. Witnesses from Michael's unit testified anonymously, corroborating the friendly fire. One said, "He was reporting it up the chain." The Pentagon pushed back, citing national security. Leaks suggested settlements, but Elon refused. Not without admission. Richard wavered, exhaustion setting in. Health scares, a minor heart episode, forced rest. Linda insisted. Enough fighting. But Richard couldn't stop. It was for Michael. Emily's role expanded, advocating online. She connected with other families, forming a network. "This is bigger than us," she said. Indeed, congressional hearings loomed. Michael's case cited in reform bills. Drama escalated when a whistleblower went public, naming superiors. Threats followed. Elon received anonymous calls. "Back off." Paranoia gripped them. In quieter moments, Richard and Elon reflected on love's complexities. "Did you ever regret the secrecy?" Richard asked. Elon sighed. "Every day. But love made it worth it." Stories of their travels, weekends in the mountains, stolen kisses, painted a poignant picture. Michael's letters to Elon revealed vulnerability. "You're my anchor in this storm." A turning point came at a family reunion sans Tom. Cousins shared acceptance stories. One admitted, "I knew about Michael." Relief washed over Richard. Why hide? The answer, fear of judgment. It underscored societal pressures, rural America's slow shift toward inclusion. As trial neared, evidence mounted. Autopsy reports discrepant with official accounts. Experts testified on military cover-ups. Public sympathy swung. Polls showed majority support for transparency, but conservatives rallied, framing it as anti-patriotic. Richard's testimony loomed. Practicing with Elon, he honed words. "My son died not just from a bullet, but from a system that forced him to hide." Emotions raw, he confronted his evolution from denial to advocacy. The night before, a call from Tom. "I'm sorry. Let's talk." Reconciliation hinted, but drama persisted. At court, protesters clashed outside. Inside, Richard took the stand, heart racing. The courtroom hummed with tension as Richard swore in, eyes scanning the packed gallery. Elon sat front row, offering a nod. The prosecutor grilled, "Did you know about your son's sexuality?" Richard admitted, "No, and that's my regret." Defense countered, portraying Michael as unstable. Richard fired back. He was brave, braver than a system that lies. Applause erupted. Judge banged gavel. Testimonies unfolded dramatically. A fellow Marine broke ranks. The op was a mess. Command ignored warnings. Cross-exam revealed bribes attempts. Gasps filled the room. Elon testified next, voice cracking, recounting Michael's last call. "If anything happens, tell my family I love them. All of me." Tears flowed. Even skeptics softened. Outside, media frenzy peaked. Richard dodged cameras, but a reporter cornered, "Hero or victim?" He replied, "Both and more." The quote headlined nationwide. Social divides deepened. Online trolls targeted the family. Emily monitored, blocking hate. "Ignore them," she said, but words wounded. A bombshell dropped. Classified docs declassified under pressure, confirming friendly fire and cover-up. Pentagon scrambled, offering settlement. Elon consulted Richard. What would Michael want? Richard pondered. Justice. They rejected, pushing for trial. Personal stakes rose. Linda collapsed from stress, hospitalized briefly. Richard at bedside. "I'm sorry for dragging us through this." She squeezed his hand. "It's for our boy." Recovery spurred resolve. Uncle Tom's return added twist. At hospital, he confessed, "I was wrong. My brother. He was gay too. We hid it." Revelation stunned. "Why now?" Richard asked. "Your courage shamed me." They hugged, mending fences. Tom joined advocacy, his voice amplifying reach. Climax built as closing arguments neared. Prosecution painted systemic failure. Defense denied. Jury deliberated tensely. Outside, vigils formed. Rainbow flags mixed with stars and stripes. Richard addressed crowd. "This is America's story. Evolving, painful, but forward." Verdict day dawned stormy. Court reconvened. Foreman read, "Guilty on cover-up charges." Cheers erupted. Officials fined. Reforms mandated. Elon embraced Richard. "We did it, but victory bittersweet. No bringing Michael back." Post-trial, reflections deepened. Richard wrote a book, Hidden Heroes, chronicling the journey. Sales soared, sparking discussions. Elon moved nearby, co-parenting Michael's legacy through a foundation for LGBTQ+ vets. Yet conflicts lingered. Some family distanced, society polarized. Richard pondered choices. Had revelation healed or harmed? At Michael's grave, he whispered, "I see you now." In the aftermath, life settled into a new normal, laced with ongoing debates. The foundation thrived, hosting events where stories like Michael's inspired change. Richard spoke often, his voice steady, sharing lessons learned. "Acceptance isn't optional. It's essential," he'd say. Elon partnered in efforts, their friendship a testament to resilience. Family healed gradually. Thanksgiving reunited all, including Tom, toasts raised to Michael. Laughter mixed with tears, bonds reforged. Emily announced pregnancy, dedicating the child to her uncle's memory. Linda found peace in gardening, symbols of growth. Broader impacts rippled. Legislation passed, mandating transparency in military deaths and protections for LGBTQ+ personnel. Michael's case cited in textbooks, a pivot point in history. But backlash persisted, lawsuits from conservatives claiming defamation. Richard weathered, focused on progress. Personal growth marked Richard's arc. He marched in pride parades, waved flags with pride. "For my son," he explained to curious neighbors. Town attitudes shifted slowly. Some embraced, others resisted. Debates at diners. Was the funeral disruption justified? Opinions varied, mirroring national discourse. Elon dated again, introducing a partner to Richard. Michael would approve, Richard joked. Their shared grief evolved into mutual support, a surrogate family. Years passed. Richard aged gracefully, reflecting on choices. Had he honored Michael? The answer, complex, lay in lives touched. One evening, watching sunset, Richard pondered the core question. Was it right to shatter a hero's myth for the sake of truth? Is revealing a loved one's hidden truth at their funeral an act of betrayal or ultimate honor?